Possession. Thank you, Kim, for hanging out with us again this evening. All right. Obsession is possession. I'm a little movie buff. I enjoy basically my time with movies for a relaxation. And really, one of my favorite movies is National Treasure. 2004, Walt Disney released this film starring Nicolas Cage, Harvey Keitel, John Voight, Diane Kruger, and Sean Bean. And it's about a young man by the name of Benjamin Franklin Gates, who is told this story by his grandfather, John Adam Gates. And as he grows up 30 years later, he is obsessed with this story about the national treasure that's hidden somewhere, and it has artifacts. It has jewelry, precious metal. I mean, wonderful stuff just filled over the years from Egypt all the way into America. And it has kept on accumulating. Hey, Brother Lawrence, kept on accumulating throughout even the American Revolution War. And so now young Benjamin Gates is approximately over 30. He's a historian and he's an amateur cryptologist. Amateur cryptologist is nothing but a big word of he's a treasure hunter. He has been obsessed with finding this treasure all of his life. And he keeps on getting clue after clue after clue after clue. His father, Patrick Gates, who heard the story as well, is skeptical and says this does not exist. This is the family legacy that we are just crackpots. But young Benjamin Gates believes in this treasure and he keeps on searching because his obsession is to possess it. And so my encouragement to you tonight is for you to find out what is it that you have as an obsession that you will possess. Hey, Keisha, how are you? Listen, I want you to grab that, okay? Simple. Obsession is possession. And there are three things, and we're out of here. Eddie Cannon, man, thank you for hanging out with us, okay? So, obsession is possession. Three things inside of your obsession becoming your possession. And so because I know we got some Christians, I want you to drop this in because there are three things here. The first one is the intensity of your faith. If you're going to obsess with your possessing this thing, you got to have the intensity. What is the intensity of your faith, okay? Secondly, you got to answer, what is the intensity of your focus? And then thirdly, Reggie, you got to answer, what is the intensity of my fight? Okay, because we're talking about obsession. That's that thing that has taken over you. Benjamin Gates is obsessed with finding this possession of a national treasure. And he gets into trouble. He's got to find a way to get out of trouble because he's got to find this treasure. And so my encouragement to you is to, number one, you got to look at what is the intensity of your faith. Joyce, there are folk you got to talk to and you got to tell them, if you're going to possess this thing, you got to be obsessed by this thing. And if you're going to be obsessed by this thing, then that means you've got to have a high intensity of your faith. Why? Because life is going to put distractions in your way. Now, I'm going to come back to that because of the simple fact, when we talk about faith, I say this to our church, you got to know that you can see it before you see it. Okay? You got to be able to see the possession before you can see the possession. Let me just borrow a biblical story real quick. Joshua and Caleb are two of the 12 spies that are sent to the promised land. Now, God done told them about the promised land. And the 12 spies cross over, they spy it out, and they actually see it. Mm-hmm. They actually see the cluster of grapes. They actually see the flowing milk. They actually see the honey dripping out of the sap of the trees. They actually see it, but they come back with two different reports. 10 come back and they say, we can't get it. We can't possess it. 2 come back and say, we can possess this. Hallelujah. With the help of the Lord. And so catch this, the intensity of Joshua and Caleb. Hey, Brother Bobby, the intensity of Joshua and Caleb's faith is that they say, with the Lord's help, we can handle this. But catch this, well able. The inferiority of the other 10's faith is this: we look like grasshoppers in their sight. How do you know you're going to look like a grasshopper in somebody's sight if you spying and they don't know you spying on them, huh? Okay, so that was an absurd report in the first place. But I'm encouraging you that you've got to be able to see the possession before you see the possession. Benjamin Gates saw this treasure even though he never saw it. And he saw himself finding the treasure, even though he did not know what else he had to go through. So my encouragement here is you've got to check out, what is the intensity of my faith? All right? That's the first thing. But here's the second one. The intensity of your focus. If you're going to be obsessed with getting your possession, and let me encourage you, God's got it for you. As a matter of fact, it's waiting on you at a certain destination, which means that you got to go after it. You got to go get it. Okay? Lady Greer, Pastor Greer, God's got it for you. You got to go after it. Reggie, God's got it for you. You got to go after it. Kim, God's got it for you, but you got to go after it. And so as you check out the level, the intensity of your faith, now you have to check out, hey, Renee Page, you got to check out the intensity of your focus. Now, one of the most wonderful things that I don't get a chance to really see it that much anymore, but one of the most wonderful things about horse races is this. They put a thing on horses when they're racing, and catch this, is absurd. They call them blinders. Okay, they call them blinders. They put them on the side of their eyes so that the horses cannot see the other horse on side of him. He can only see what's in front of him. Because if the horse is able to see the other horse on side of him, he will lose his focus of what's in front of him. So what I'm saying to you today is that you've got to zero in on your focus and not get distracted. You can, life is going, remember I just said that earlier with your faith, life is going to throw distractions at you, but you've got to zero in. You got to put on some spiritual blinders. You, as a matter of fact, sometimes got to put on some physical blinders and tell yourself, I ain't gonna see, I don't see that, I don't see that, I don't see that, I can't see that, I'm not looking at that. Why? Because you've got a possession in front of you that you've got to be obsessed with. So when you're obsessed with it, your focus, catch this, I'm going to use that term, I think the world call it, you got to zero in on it. You got to zero in on it. You got to zero in on it. That means, Keisha, there is nothing else in your sight but what you want to possess. It may be a house. It may be a car. It may be another job. It may be another promotion. It may be another level of your Christianity. It may be another piece of your education, a degree. You may be saying to yourself, somebody may be saying, you ain't smart enough. I'm here to tell you, when you obsess about that possession, you raise the intensity of your faith. You raise the intensity of your focus. Let me just drop this in, and I'm not going to tell you the story about this tonight. I'll tell it to you another time. But where there is a will, there is a way. Okay, I want you to know that. Okay, so catch this, Minister Andy Gaines. Listen, all right. So we've talked about what is the intensity of your faith. What is the intensity of your focus? And the third thing I got to tell you, if you're going to obsess with your possession, and catch this. When you obsess with your possession, you got to possess what you obsess. Ooh. Sheila, did you catch that? You came in. Sheila, we're talking about obsessing your possession, but then your possession has to be an obsession. And so when you catch that, the last thing I got to tell you is you got to ask yourself, Joyce, you got to ask yourself, Lady Grill, Pastor Grill, you got to ask yourself, Keisha, Reggie, you got to ask yourself, what is the intensity of my fight? The intensity of your faith, the intensity of your focus. Kim, the intensity of your fight. Look. You know George Foreman. Keisha, Renee, you know George Foreman. George Foreman is famous for the Rumble in the Jungle, 1974. Him and Muhammad Ali. Hey, brother, Pastor Edward Malvo. He is famous for the 1974 Rumble in the Jungle championship fight with Muhammad Ali. Hey, my sister Sheila, listen. He lost that fight in 1974 with Muhammad Ali. WBA heavyweight champion fight, lost it in 1974. But catch this, 20 years later, George Foreman is 45 years old, fighting 26-year-old Michael Moore for the heavyweight championship of the world. Pastor Bishop Malvo, he is now 20 years later, but the intensity of the fight is George Foreman says, I'm not going to lose this fight. I got the whole story to tell you. It's in the 10th round, Sheila Maddox. It's in the 10th round that George Foreman is so tired, but he puts up everything he got and he hits Michael Moore and staggers him. Oh my goodness. When he staggers Michael Moore, a 26-year-old heavyweight fighter, George Foreman knows within himself, I can win this fight. What are you saying, Bishop? You're going to get in a fight because what you're obsessing to possess is not going to be easy. You may be in the 8th round, you may be in the 9th round, somebody may even be in the 10th round, but there is enough strength in you to knock out your opponent so that you can possess what you are obsessed with.
Glory.
So at 46 years old, now, what I forgot to tell you is that in 1974, 3 years later at 1977, he retired. So he got back in the fight, but catch this, 1994, he knocks out Michael Moore. 3 years later, Keisha, he retires. You don't hear me. He retires as a champion. Why? Because he was obsessed to possess the WBA championship heavyweight boxer. What are you saying, Bishop? I'm saying to somebody who's going to look at this video, who's listening to me and say, you know what? I've got an obsession that I've got to possess. I see it before I see it. I got blinders on and I'm zeroing in on my focus, and my intensity is so deep that even if I'm in my 10th round, I got enough strength to hit my opponent so hard, it's going to stagger him. And I am going to possess what I'm obsessed with. You got that, Sheila? You tell Greg I miss him tonight. Tell him he better pull this here up and he better get this in his spirit, Keisha. Bishop Edward Malvo, man, thank y'all for hanging out with me. I appreciate it. Sheila, bless you. Sheila Moore, thank you, Nez. Thank you, Joyce. I bless each and every one of you every time y'all hang out with me. This is empowering you to be a better you. Thank you, everybody. All right. Look, tag, share, tell somebody he's on at 10 o'clock. Monday through Saturday. All right. Bless you. Love you. Hello, greatness.